Greetings, everybody. This is Jim, and this statue is of Admiral Oliver Hazard Perry, who won the decisive Battle of Lake Erie in a war that is directly related to the game I'm about to show you today, a game of which only has 4 pages of rules, and is considered one of the best introductory war games ever. So today, I am going to be talking to you about why you should be playing the War of 1812 by Columbia Games. Now, the War of 1812 was a 3-year engagement that really to most people is just a footnote in history. You know, we don't learn about it much in school because I think it's just because the Revolutionary War just overshadowed it. And we already beat the British, right? So it's like, why talk about it again? But the thing is, there are a few differences here. One of the interesting notes of why the War of 1812 happened that I find interesting is, well, the British were already fighting Napoleon at this time, and they already had one of the biggest navies ever, okay? You know that they're known for their massive navy and their very well-trained navy. Well, the thing is, though, at the time, they weren't really paid and treated very well, though, as big as they were. All right, so American merchant vessels, being the capitalists that they were, right, were just offering people a lot of money to be on those vessels. And so British sailors, knowing that they could have a much better life, not just a little, a lot better life, would actually desert at their ship and just come on to American merchant vessels. So what happened was the British caught wind of this, because this happened not just a slow burn. This happened, boom, as soon as word got out, everybody started leaving, and it was quick that the British Navy said, hey, something's up. So what they would actually end up doing is just finding these, going to the ports and finding the sailors that they suspected were British and actually forcing them back on ship. This even happened out in the high seas to a degree. So that's one of the reasons why the War of 1812 happened. So here we have a picture of Oliver Hazard Perry right here, and I don't know who did the art for it. I mean, I tried to find it online so I could tell you guys, but I couldn't even find it online, not even from the Lake Erie site. So if you know the artist who did this picture, please let me know in the comment section down below, and everybody else can enjoy the information. Speaking of nice artwork, here's the map for the War of 1812 with Columbia Games. Very nicely done. I'm going to give you a close-up here in a second. But first, if you are familiar with Columbia Games at all, you might say, hey, that map looks kind of familiar, that configuration. It kind of resembles Julius Caesar a little bit. You've got landmass up top, some lakes in between, and some land on the bottom, and the total landmass practically on the right-hand side. Well, there's a big difference here in the War of 1812 as compared to Julius Caesar. Now we can move in, and we'll talk about it. I just talked to Tom Dalgleish, the creator of the game here, and he said there is now, but it was not a canal between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie. So in Julius Caesar, the lakes are just completely combined. So basically, you could take amphibious movement from the complete right-hand side of the map to the left. Here, you can't do it. You can pretty much only move around Lake Ontario or Lake Erie. Okay, and that's it. And just as a little side note, by the way, getting into Lake Erie was a big deal in building your forces there because it controlled or allowed forces into the other lakes. Okay, so basically that was a big thing. So you could bring forces in from anywhere into Lake Ontario, but that's as far as they would go. So a little information there. So yeah, a lot of similarities in that way from Julius Caesar, though, as far as how important amphibious movement is in this game. Now, one key thing that I think is really neat is even though they only have 4 pages of rules, they have enough room to give rules for simultaneous movement. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, almost like a double blind almost. Basically, I write my moves in secret, you write your moves in secret, we reveal them at the same time. This is where the forces go. That's a beautiful, I mean, the game's already got built-in fog of war to a point. I mean, well, definitely has not just to a point. It's the whole point of Columbia Games, right? But basically, that even just goes one step further. You have no idea where your guys are going. I mean, the opposition is going, and it's not that hard because you know your units are going to be grouped together quite heavily. All right, so you don't have to worry about little units going here and there on their own and keeping track of everything. It's pretty much going to be a couple of groups, and you'll be fine. Now, of course, the War of 1812 uses a very highly regarded Columbia block system, which you can have a link down below right there to check out what the system is. But like I said, the game is only 4 pages long of rules, so it's really not hard to grasp and understand. It's one of the beauties of the entire system. And the Columbia block system, of course, has that built-in fog of war where it's like Stratego on steroids. You can see your unit's strength, but you can't see the enemy's units. You can see where they're at, but you don't know what their strength is. Now, as far as detail goes, even though it's only 4 pages long, there's some cool little details that they kind of add in here. One of them is the American militias. Basically, the militias were only required to fight on American soil, so basically they had to roll a die anytime they wanted to go into Canadian territory. And another one is the Indians. They play at Detroit if the British player captures that town. And of course, if they ever lose control, then they're gone. So they'll fight alongside them, but the chance they get to disperse, they absolutely will. So some cool little bits of information there. So if it seems like I'm talking a lot about Oliver Hazard Perry here, well, you'd be right. I mean, he did have a pivotal part to play in the war after all. But the thing is, I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, and everybody from Erie knows who Oliver Hazard Perry is, at least to a small degree. And truthfully, to the outside world, we're not known for much else. I mean, we got Oliver Hazard Perry, snow, and on a good day, if we're lucky, Oliver Hazard Perry in snow. I mean, that's it. That's what we got. Now, the thing is, I did talk to Tom Dalgleish about why Oliver Hazard Perry didn't have his own block in the game. Well, that's because they regulated commanders to just the armies. They didn't do that for the navies at all. So maybe there'll be something as an optional rule later on, or maybe in the next edition. Who knows? That is the video for War of 1812. I highly suggest it because it is, again, a great introductory game to wargaming. It's only 4 pages long. It's easy to learn. And for anybody else who is very adept at wargaming, that easy simultaneous mode, that double blind, is really a nice way to play. So with only 4 pages of rules, the War of 1812 is really a triple threat treat. I mean, for your basic gamers out there, this is something you absolutely should get because it's really Stratego on steroids and it's really light, and you can play it with your wargaming buddies and they won't mind playing a game like this at all. I mean, so you can get the best of both worlds and not be intimidated or have a game that you find a little too dry. At the same time, wargamers are going to enjoy this because of a number of levels. One, it is a great introductory tool into wargaming. I mean, they can bring people in, so if you do play this game and you like it, maybe you will like some of the other games that are out there as far as wargaming goes. So they would love to introduce you to this game. And the second thing is, even when they're playing against their own people, the veterans against veteran wargamers, they will enjoy this game because of the added fog of war. Now, Columbia Games already has that fog of war, as I explained before, but because they can play this so easily as a simultaneous movement, that gives another level of a fog of war that you can't find in other war games very easily. And that is one of the reasons why this game, which only takes an hour to play, hour, maybe 2, it is really one of the games that should be on your shelf. So that's the video, and I'll see you next time.